Hello again, everyone. I think this is hopefully going to be the last video I do about my M&P Shield for a while, and the MagGuts system, unless they can kind of come out with something else that's kind of great and amazing. Here is the MagGuts, kind of the Gen 1 spring with magazine extension installed in the 8-round magazine. I didn't do that before. The first comment I got on the video was, "Hey, what does it look like in this sucker?" So here it is. I did another video because I ended up buying a Gen 2 MagGuts to kind of check that out and put it in all my magazines, just to have it. When I'm out and about, I always see if I can find cheap magazines, which, there's a gun shop around here, and I'm not sure if this was one of the used ones I found, but I found a bunch of XDS magazines. I end up getting I think I bought another 9-rounder, another 7-rounder, and another 8-rounder. So it's like I have a pile of XDS magazines, and from what I can tell, like I said, I can't tell if this is one of my new original ones or if this was a used ones I bought from the shop. It was like I walked in and I thought it was like I found gold. So anyway, as I'm always out looking around, as an aside, same shop, they had Shield magazines last night, used ones for sale that look great, but they're all for 40. So whatever. Unfortunately, I didn't buy those because I don't have a Shield in 40 right now. But in that case, if they were there in 9mm and they were selling them for, I think, for $14, I would have pounced on a couple. So I had no qualms about spending additional money on the MagGuts kit. Anyway, that's kind of an aside. So here is the 8-round magazine with the 2-round extension. Again, it's the Gen 1 follower and everything else. Nice, tight, stay in place, nice, good fit. As opposed to the Gen 2, which I just did another video on, and I installed in this one. They kind of look very, very similar, except for the spring's different. You can see by the follower difference. They look pretty much the same, but anyway, the spring internal is a little different, and I'm don't know if it's quality or cost. I go into the other video, but anyway, here's what it looks like in a 8-round magazine. You can see that the spacer still fits on here. My spacer, I bought the little extra piece when I bought my Talon grips for my Shield. I bought a little bit to go over the spacer just because, and yeah, everything kind of fits over here. You can see, it's probably a little hard to see in here, there is a little bit of a gap that occurs in here, and I think in part that's because you can see the back of the MagGuts floor plate has a kind of a bow in it to kind of keep it seated well, and that kind of prevents the spacer from coming down and staying fully tight. It's very minuscule, but it's there, and it's not going to cause any problems, but it's there. So what does it look like in the gun? Right, once you get it in the Shield, safety check, there is ammo on the table that I'm going to install later, but it's just kind of as a caveat, not install. I'm going to load later just to talk about it a little bit. But it fits in there well. I think this is kind of par for the course with the spacer. You see a little bit of a gap, but it fits everything. My hand fits on here well. Everything kind of fits together. Kind of this transition looks kind of a little goofy with a little bit of the a lot of the spaces in there, but it's functional. It looks good. I'm not going to do any measurements, but it'll add the 1/4 to the bottom of the magazine. But the one, I guess, piece about it is it'll go a little bit below the actual, the spacer, and everything will fit in well. One good thing in my case, if you saw the previous video, I griped a little bit about this back corner kind of digging into my hand. In this case, with the spacer and the low additional space, it might still dig in there a little bit, but not as much as it was before. As you can tell, it was right up here where there's nice rounded pieces now, and it's very comfortable. So yeah, that's it. Folks, I have kind of a little bit of a smaller hand. So you can see it does give it a little, even with that, it does give a little additional finger purchase on here. You know, when I just have the flat mag, I get a little bit of my pinky on there, but now with this spacer and this actual the extended floor plate, I fully grip that. I kind of think anyone with the really big hands are gonna get, you know, at least part of their pinky on here. So that's about it. Now the one last piece I want to mention again is, I mentioned it in my video with the when I inserted the mag in here fully loaded, is, you know, Shield magazines, when they're fully topped off and they're fully loaded, they are, sorry, when the magazine is topped off and there's a round in the chamber, they are very tight on getting in, unless you kind of slam them in there, which, you know, if you ask me, you know, I think that's a little much to expect that, but if you probably go to some kind of training course, they'll probably mention that that's pretty much how you should always be slamming your magazine in anyway, so you just get in the habit. It's kind of funny. I did some training at SIG Academy, and they put us through this drill, and you can see it's like I picked it up, and I kind of, even when I don't try to do it, you know, I just go back and I automatically grip it and try to pull it. You know, it's kind of funny, a little bit of training, what it could kind of do to your handling, you know, when you're handling the firearm. You know, I just put my finger back there because that's kind of something I picked up from my Shield when I do a mag release. A little bit of training and things just become so routine, you just automatically do things. So it's like big ups if you have the opportunity to do any kind of firearms training, you know, beyond your basic safety class, go ahead and do that. You know, it's kind of a no-brainer to not do that if you're going to be, you know, carrying a firearm, a pistol, which is, you know, it can easily be it could easily cause death, dismemberment if you're not careful, if you're not handling it properly, handling it correctly. Anyone watch these videos, you know, this is a gun right now, has a live round in here. If anyone thinks they see me doing anything wrong or anything I shouldn't do, like how I released that magazine, then you know, I'm more than open to hearing your comments. But you know, yeah, as I said, so right now, press check, round in the chamber, magazine is topped off, 10 rounds in the magazine. You can see if I just try to push it in kind of softly, you know, they're hard to seat. You know, and again, the reason I'm showing this is, without the MagGuts, they're hard to seat. When you put the MagGuts kit in here, you didn't really change anything. That's still part and parcel of how this works, right? But you know, if you slam it in there, you're not going to have any issues. You know, and that's, in my opinion, that should be how you're loading your magazines. And one interesting thing, it doesn't want to fall away, right? So, as it does if I'm not holding on to it. So that, yeah, that's it. That was the last piece I want to talk about, start rambling about. It seats really well. Seats really well. It's the magazine. That's the magazine. It's nothing to do with the MagGuts, but it is tight. If you're just trying to, I don't know, some guns work fine when you just come in and do this thing, but you know, if you're in the habit of just slamming it at home, it's going to work great. So that's about it. And again, I'll just cycle through everything here to fully unload the firearm. You know, just to show you that the rounds feed kind of fine as well. You know, I do find if you're cycling the rounds in this manner, you're probably pretty likely to have some feed issues show up if you do it this way. And that's it. That's all 11 rounds that I had in the Shield. And that's 4, and there's 1 on the ground here beneath my feet. And there you go, 11 rounds. Empty Shield, nothing in the chamber, nothing in the magazine. That's it. So I think that's the last of the MagGuts videos, certainly, unless they manage to come out with something else. I will put a little tag in here as well. This is an UpLULA by Maglula. I will put a link out there to that. I love this little thing. It seems a little overpriced for what it is, but it quickly pays for itself. And that's about it. Any questions, let me know. I'll try to be responsive, and have fun, be safe, and thanks for watching.